back to the studio. Tonight I'm going to paint some delicious blueberry muffins. As always, I've pre-drawn my picture, and I'm going to use for my muffins a mixture of yellow ochre, raw umber, and transparent orange oxide. It doesn't sound like the most appetizing color combination, but it's going to work out for us. Here we go. I'm just going to put in just a basic layer of paint. I'm going to paint the muffin top here in one. This is tinted a little bit more towards the orange side. And now I'm going to paint the muffin stump. I don't know if you're a Seinfeld fan. You get the muffin top and the muffin stump. I'm going to paint the muffin stump. The stump, I'm using more of the raw umber in. When I look at the picture, it seems as though the paper on the bottom of it has changed the color just a little bit. So I want to give that a little more of that raw brown color. But the top, it's going to be much more delicious. It's going to be more of that orange oxide color. So there's my first muffin done. I'm going to come back and do the second muffin the same way. More of that yellow ochre and orange oxide color on the muffin top. Something's happened. I've gone a little bit out of focus. There, I'm back. And on the bottom, a little bit more of the raw umber. You can see just a little bit of the difference in colors there. I'm painting around the blueberries that I have set on the table in front of these muffins. Okay. Got a little puddling there that I don't really want. I want that to definitely be a bit darker at the bottom. There we go, a bit darker on the bottom of that muffin than at the top. Perfect. Just like that will work out real well. And of course, you've got to have the pleats in there. So now I've dried a little bit. My paint won't run quite so much. I'm going to put on a much stronger layer of paint, much more of the orange oxide in there. That's going to look like the bit of the muffin that's really gotten nice and brown and delicious. Here we go. And I'm just taking my cues from the picture right around the outside edge where it's set on the lip of the pan. That's probably going to be really delicious. I put that, and I don't want a hard edge on it, so I'm just going to clean that off a little bit and let that blend out just ever so slightly. There we go. I've got two of them starting to look good. We're going to come back in and put another layer on there. That's going to really make them look delicious. All right. Let's see what to do. I think I'm going to dry it real quick, and then I'm going to put the muffin on in the background. Here we are, back from drying. There we go. The muffins in the foreground were just a bit wet. I didn't want one to necessarily bleed into the background, or I didn't want either to bleed into the background. We're going with our same mixture on the top of orange oxide and a little bit of, I don't know, whatever I said it was, I'm sorry. It's getting away from me. And a little bit of raw umber for the cup itself. I'm just going to come back and put in some highlights where it's gotten golden brown and delicious. There we go. Right along the edge. Very good, very good. Now moving my attention down to the muffin stump, I'll just put in a little bit of color down there where it sat on the bottom of the pan. And alright, we're ready to put in a little detail on our muffins. A little bit of darkening down there, right around the blueberries. The bottom of that pan got really hot. Put that on and blend that out. You can see that brush work back and forth, back and forth. Just blending the color out. Now I don't want that raw umber color to go all the way to the top of my muffin cups. I want it to stop about halfway. There we go. I've got to put a little extra ultramarine blue in my palette. I'm going to mix that with a little Van Dyke brown, and that is going to be my baked blueberry color. So I'm just looking at the picture to see where the cracks and crevices are on the top of this muffin and where I can add that color in. I want to take just a bit of that paint off as it goes, as you see it through that muffin cup. But on the top of the muffin, I can just put that color, that blue color in wherever it needs to go, wherever I think there's a blueberry in there. That's how I'm going to do it. And the same on the other muffin. Just find where those blueberries would be and paint them in. There it goes. That goes down into that muffin cup a little bit. There's a little blueberry back there. You can just see it. All right. So now we're going to go back into our muffins and we're going to darken up the spots where it's golden brown and delicious, where it's been baked in. There's one spot. Here's another spot. You can see how that second layer really brings that that nice brown baked color into it. And here I'm using a little bit of the yellow ochre to paint the part that's been cooked but maybe not browned quite so much. Do the same thing on this muffin. There we go. Those muffins are starting to look better. Starting to look much more tasty and delicious. I want to reach out and eat one right now. Here we go, and we're just following the same pattern on every spot that we had indicated before. Every spot that was golden brown, we're just going to go back and we're going to put another layer of paint on it. Everything that was a little lighter, we're going to go back with our yellow ochre and fill in between. I do want to leave a few hard edges on the tops of these muffins to give it a little bit of depth. I'm sorry, I'm doing this upside down for you. It's right side up as I'm painting it. I sometimes forget that it goes that way, and I need to paint upside down a little bit more. Here we go, and I'm just bouncing back and forth between the two muffins, trying to keep a little bit of a wet edge, but not so wet that my paint is going to run all over the place. There we go. Nice and bright muffin tops. They've been in the oven for I don't know how long you bake a muffin for, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, something like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on the muffin in the background. However, my colors are going to be just a little less intense. I don't want to have the same intensity of color between all three of them. If they did, your eye would pick them up as being the same distance away. So that back muffin is going to be just a little lighter than the other two. And in that way, we're going to ensure that it's in the background. Okay, I've got my basic muffins done. Just going to add a little shadow into the ridge lines of those muffin cups. Just like that, up and down, up and down. There it goes. And that back is just a wee bit damp yet. Maybe I'll hold off on that. Let me blow dry the whole thing and see how it looks. Alright, I'm liking it so far. I just need to add a few extra details here and there. Good, good, good. Now I can paint my blueberries. Here's one. Just a little circle. I'm not painting the crown on them right now. I'm going to come back and I'm going to just alter the paint color ever so slightly when I paint the crown on that blueberry. We'll make it stand out and you'll be able to see that there is a crown there. There we go. There's not much to blueberries. We're just going to put in some paint. Just drop it in there. There we go. Good, 4 blueberries right in the front. I probably should have added one more. People say you should paint in odd numbers. That's okay. For our purpose here, this is going to work great. So I've just added a little bit more ultramarine blue to my color and used that in the blueberry crown. I want to go back and intensify the darkness of the blueberries inside the muffin, just ever so slightly. There we go. Just make it look like there's a lot of blueberry color in there, right inside that muffin. And the more we put that color in, the more detail we get inside that muffin, the better it's going to actually look. Just the same, but just lighter in the back. There we go. Not quite so intense on that muffin. We want it to stay in the background, but we do still want to take care of it. Alright, I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow to my blueberries so they look round. Let's see, which brush do I want to do that with? A little brush, there we go. Just on the bottom side of those. So just adding a bit of detail to make them appear round. There we go. Now they look like they're three-dimensional instead of two-dimensional. But to tell you the truth, nobody's going to notice them because those muffins look so delicious. just a little dot inside the crown. And we're done with our blueberries. I'm going to take a big flat brush, a 1-inch flat brush, and I'm going to use that to paint the background on. If you've seen my videos before, you know that using the 1-inch flat brush is a great way to put a lot of paint on very quickly. Once you get it mixed up, here we go. Not the color I wanted. Too dark, much too dark for our painting. I'm going to lighten that up. I'm actually going to lighten it up quite a bit. That color didn't look quite so gray on my palette, but it looked quite gray on the painting, and I didn't want it to be gray. So here we are, a nice pale color, a little bit of yellow in it, keeping with a warm theme. Want the yellow, and maybe it looks like your grandmother's kitchen when she used to make you blueberry muffins back in the day, but again, just a very light color, and we're going to put it on very quickly. I'm not trying to add any detail by doing the yellow in the background, just trying to finish out my painting. There we go, and using the edge of that flat brush is a great way. You can get a very straight line. You can get into some tight places. There you can see I tip it right on edge and get right into where I need to go. Just use the fat, wide part of that brush, and you can cover a lot of ground very quickly. Just use the tip edge to get right around that blueberry. There we go. So we've got some color on our background. The blueberries aren't floating in space. They're not quite planted on a table yet, but they're not floating in space. Let's give them a little dry here. Good. There we go. One last thing to do. I'm going to put a little shadow on here, so we know they are sitting on something and not floating in space. Just going to mix up a little bit of light brown color. I want to keep this very warm shadow. I don't want any cold blues in it. And I'm going to make a determination where it should be and just go with it. There's a shadow right to there. There's the back side of it. And there's the shadow on our next muffin. Just going to take that out of the frame. There we go. A little shadow on the blueberries, and I believe we are done with this painting. I thank you very much for sticking around and watching me paint these delicious muffins. I certainly enjoyed having you in the studio with me tonight. Please subscribe to my channel and like my channel, or like my video. I would love to see you back here in the studio painting with me another time. I sure enjoyed it this time and can't wait to paint another picture with you. Thank you very much.